Namaste. This week, we've talked about a couple different things. One was the tusk of Ganesha and what it represented. And then yesterday, our theme was kind of inspired by the drop or stop, drop, roll, that we're told as children if we were to catch on fire. And I was mentioning in yoga, anytime we have a still point, anytime we're holding a position, anytime we're in Shavasana, we could have the idea of stop, drop in and listen, or stop, drop in and feel. So I mentioned through those classes that we did have an eclipse this week. The eclipse was in Scorpio. Scorpio is a pretty intense sign. And there was also Venus playing a big part in this particular eclipse that we have. So if you think about those types of energy, with that sign and with that particular planet, it's about self-worth, it's about self-value, it's about relationships, it could concern finances. So you may have noticed leading up to the eclipse that maybe you were getting triggered internally, with finding your place or not being heard or not feeling like you're seen or appreciated, or there might have been a little bit of friction in some of your relationships. So if any of that was playing out, just know that that is the energy that's kind of stirring right now. But eclipses are also a time of endings and new beginnings. So there was a lady this morning who was telling me that she's been felt like she was stuck in the mud. And then all of a sudden, since the eclipse, she feels like she's not stuck in the mud anymore. She doesn't know what direction to take, but she doesn't feel stuck. So there could be some purging, there could be some clearing that you're doing. I had several people in the studio that I just left telling me that they felt like they were purging. A few of them were purging their, their pantries and the refrigerators and their diet. And some other people were actually purging out, things that were no longer needed or wanted at home, just kind of like a spring cleaning, but in the fall. So if you have any of this happening, it's for good reason. And this energy will also come back into play, or we'll see more of the result of all of this in May and June of 2023, because that will be the next eclipse season. That holds a little bit of the energy that we feel now. The second eclipse that's coming in this season will be November 8th. That one will be a lunar eclipse, I believe, in Taurus. And we'll talk about that when it gets a little closer. So we'll go ahead and start on the mat, and we're going to begin in the passive crocodile, which is a prone position. I would suggest 2 blocks, so have them available. So when you come to your mat, let's go ahead and widen the legs. And while you're propped up, go ahead and rock and shimmy your hips and lower body side to side. Just loosen everything up. And then go ahead and cross the arms in front of you and bow your head. And once you bow your head, just make sure there's enough of a breezeway underneath your face to comfortably breathe. Breathing in a deep diaphragmatic way so that you feel your belly pressing into the earth as it expands. And you feel it lessening as you breathe out. Just concentrate on your breath. Maybe be a really reflective of what's shown up in the last couple weeks. And if any of that was concerning the eclipse energy. The eclipses also help to unveil truths that have been hidden or obscured, unknown or suppressed. And all we have to do is look at the news to see that that is occurring, but it may be occurring personally in your life as well. Let's take 3 more breaths before we enter our next pose. We're going to lift into Sphinx. So we're going to be active with the upper body and more relaxed in the lower body. So once you have your forearms in front of you, notice how it's propping up the chest. But I want you to drill the elbows into the floor to fly up through your heart and up through your crown. Creating more extension in the spine. Strengthening the back. And knowing that back bends can be energizing and uplifting to our mood, to our spirit. And then we're going to start to shrink. So you're going to let your head kind of come down towards the shoulders. You're not pushing into the forearms anymore. And then go ahead and let go in your neck. Let your head bow. And once your head bows, slightly lean your head to one side and then the other. And you may find a particular nook, cranny, thread of tissue that feels pretty tight. Whenever you find it, stay there. Breathe into that space. And let's see if we can break some of it up. I was mentioning this morning that if these type of relational issues have shown up for you, we have a tendency to think, oh, it's going to show up, in the second chakra and the fourth chakra, because those are a little bit more revolving around relationships. However, it can really show up anywhere in the body because everything's interconnected. So if you're dealing with learning some of your ancestral history, if you are connecting to or disconnecting from your family of origin, right? That can show up in the first chakra. Second chakra is more intimate relationships, closer relationships. The third is if we're disempowered. Maybe we feel disempowered at work due to a boss or a coworker that's being too competitive or putting us down somehow. That can show up in the third chakra. We've already mentioned second and fourth, but even showing up in the neck and the throat could be if you're not feeling heard or not expressing your truth. On your next inhalation, let's go ahead and start to lift the head back up. And once you lift the head up, you're going to draw the feet more together. So slide your legs together, cross your right arm in front of you, and then lift your left foot as you turn to look over the left shoulder. Just see if it's possible to grab the top of the left foot. And if so, you're gently pulling it towards you. Now you can be stacked and lifted this way. You can also lower your head down if you just want to isolate your thigh and the work with the stomach meridian. The stomach meridian travels through the front side of the body. And the stomach, according to Chinese medicine, is related to stress and worry. So if you continue practicing your yoga, moving into a state of yoga, and utilizing that deep diaphragmatic breath, you can help your body to de-stress, to lessen the cortisol levels in your body. Let's just take like 3 more breaths. And then release. We'll take the left arm in front. So you kind of have to twist to be able to see the foot. What are we reaching for here? And you could also use a strap, by the way. You can wrap the strap around the foot and pull it towards you. I like to take the hand to the top of the foot and draw it down. You want to make sure it's not leaning towards your tailbone, but more towards your outer thigh. And again, you can be propped up or you can bow down. This is considered a half frog pose. We don't have many yoga poses that actually stretch out the calf, or not the calves, but the quads. But this is one of those. Just a couple more breaths. And then we'll release. We'll roll down to the brow to slide the hands up underneath the shoulders. We'll push up to all fours. We'll sit back towards the heels. And then from here, we're going to fan the knees apart. Keep the hands stacked out in front. The left hand will flip open, will thread under the right arm and lower down to the left side of the face. So once you drop down to the left temple, you'll be able to determine here as you let go and surrender towards gravity. Sensing how it feels and whether or not you want to include the right arm. Meaning you could just be relaxed here, or if you want to include the right arm, you'll fly it up, circle it behind the back, slide it on over. And some of you might be able to cup the hand inside your left thigh. That's not the goal. It's just a realm within the possibilities. So there's 3 meridians that travel through the inseam of the legs, 3 different ones that travel up the inseam of the arms, and then 3 other ones that flow on the outside of the arms. So we're working with 9 different meridians if the right arm is thread behind the back. If it's not thread, you're still working 6. So opening up those pathways is critical to our health. It's possible that you may be feeling a little sensitivity in your left hip. If you are, be reflective to see whether or not it correlates to any relational issues with the female in your life. If your right arm has been thread behind your back,
You're going to release it back down in front of the face. Take a moment. Drop back in. Remain committed to this pose. And then we'll root down through the right hand. We'll unthread the left arm. And then we'll take it to the other side. So shoelace arm. Right arm threads underneath. Lower to the right cheek. And sink down through the left forearm. Settle down through your hips. So maybe put a little bit more emphasis in your out breath. Six meridians, opening up here. If you want to include 3 more, sail the left arm up, thread it behind your back. Maybe slide and cup the hand in your right thigh. And you can still thread the arm without cupping your hand. Turning to this side, you're feeling a little bit more sensitive in your right hip. Just ponder for a moment, is there anything relational happening with any males in your life? Now, let's go ahead. If the left arm is behind your back, go ahead and release it back in front of the face. Rest here a few more breaths. Then press through the left hand to come up. When you come up, we're going to bring the thighs closer together, slide the hands out, take downward facing dog. Rooting the hands and feet, stretching out through the limbs. And let's go ahead and walk out the dog. Bending one knee, pushing the opposite heel of the straight leg down. And then just mindfully maneuvering back and forth between the two. And then eventually stepping the feet forward, top of the mat. Softly bend the knees and lower to dangling pose. Bowing forward and down. And so we've had several fronts come through recently. And it can mess up our sinuses and allergies. And these type of forward folds can actually make it worse. And I'm experiencing that right now. So if that's the case for you ever, and if you don't enjoy it, you can't breathe, you're getting a little, irritated by the fact you can't breathe. You can straighten out your legs if you don't want to breathe through your mouth. You can prop your hands onto your shins. You can stretch long through the spine and see if that's helpful in opening it back up or not making it any worse. On your next in breath, let's go ahead and flutter the arms to the sides and up overhead. Come to upward worship at the top. Exhale, swan dive forward and down. When you're coming down, this is where you may potentially need or want blocks to bring the floor to you. So the blocks will be ahead of the feet. And what we're going to do is bend just a singular knee. So let's bend the left knee and keep the right leg really straight. And then notice the IT band work here. So this is good for me today, being sacked on blocks. But if you're super flexible or if you're not feeling enough sensation and you're just desiring a little more, you can always dump down into more of a forward fold and closing that gap between your chest and your thighs. So this is the gallbladder meridian at work here, as well as the urinary bladder meridian in the backside. Now let's reverse that. So let's straighten the left leg. Let's bend the right knee. And again, you can be propped on blocks. Each side's different. You may desire more on one side than the other, and feel free to continue to fold in more. But just because you can't doesn't always mean that you should. I like the common expression, sometimes less is more. And someone at the studio told me that Holly's been saying, more is just more. You don't need more. All right, let's go ahead and slowly straighten out both legs this time. And let's pour down to Uttanasana. Inhale, left foot's gonna step back. Arms are gonna rise. Hands face each other. Get the head over the shoulders over the pelvis, and then softly bend your back knee. We're going to be a little bit more lax in that back thigh right now, just to feel and experience that iliopsoas. All right, now straighten out the back leg. Notice how it lifts you up to a higher level. Bring your hands to prayer, and you're going to twist to the right. You're going to set the elbow to the outside of your knee, and then you're going to lift and spin through your chest. This does require some balance. So if you need to descend your back knee for stability, go ahead, because we're about to go there anyway. Let's all create more stability and just slowly descend the back knee, untuck the back toes.
Sometimes this is challenging. So remember, you can always modify putting one hand down, taking one arm up, or just keeping the hand to the knee here. Still a twist. All right, we're gonna bring both hands down to the inside of the right foot as we heel toe the right foot to the edge of the mat and lunge that front knee. Now you can transfer onto fist if the wrists are getting a little tender. You can also bring the blocks to stack the arms on. And of course you can release to the floor, but I'm gonna stay on blocks today. And once you determined that piece of your upper body, then you can determine, do I want to stay on the base of the foot? Or would I like to wing out the knee? Meaning you would roll to the outer edge of the foot. They're both going to work the hip, just in a different way. One's the low flying dragon, and one's the low flying winged dragon. Patience for just a little bit more. Remember, you can always rock out or rock back and forth between the half lunge if the steady hold is too much for the joints. All right, we're going to move the blocks out if you had them in front. Stack to the hands, roll down to the base of the right foot, shift your hips back, and slide your right knee to table. All right, curl the toes, launch into down dog. You ride to downward facing dog. Create the peak of the pose. Send all your energy up. And then inhale, come forward, plank. Pause and plank, build a little strength. All right, let's rock forward, lower down to chaturanga. Inhale to up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Eyes can be open or shut. Now let's establish the left foot in between the hands. Slowly float the hands up. And then once you find your balance here, bend your back knee. Gaze at one spot ahead of you. Slowly lift and straighten out the back thigh. Hands to the heart as you spin to your left. Take your time. Remember, you can also land your right hand and uplift your left unless you want to keep it to the knee. Keep churning through the belly.
churning through your chest. And if you need to drop the back knee, go ahead. We're going to get there eventually. Let's set the back knee down. Stay in the rotation. And as you begin to unwind, heel toe the left foot over. Bring the hands or fists down, or blocks down, or forearms down. And again, notice what you're receiving in the hip with the foot flat. This may be better for you today. Maybe explore rolling to the outer edge of the foot so the knee's winging away from the shoulder. You might need something different on the left side that you did on the right. What are we holding? What are we hoarding? What have we pushed down psychologically or emotionally into this area of the body? On our next inhale, let's slowly begin to back ourselves out. Let's plant the palms, shift the hips back, slide the left knee to table. While you're in table, we're going to go ahead and take the blocks that were in front, and we're going to have it more beside the mat, so that when we come down and slide the legs out, we won't have to reach for them. All right, so we're going to take the hand, one hand, underneath our seat, pull the flesh out, and then lean to that side. Use the other hand to pull the other side so that you feel where you're residing right on top of the sits bones, or you feel a slight angle forward with your pelvis. If you have a history of disc issues in your back, you're going to flex your feet, you're going to ground your thighs, and you're going to come down to a degree where your back is flat. If you want to be more yin, lift the arms up, relax the knees and feet, and you're just going to slowly round and tumble over the lower body to caterpillar. In caterpillar, the head droops. It's like you're cocooning yourself. This is one of those poses where if you're passive, you want to close your eyes. If you're active, you can have eyes open or shut. I was telling my students this morning, if you ever want to be shocked in the morning when you first wake up, get out of bed and try to do this pose. It is a shocker because of how tight the fascia gets just laying in bed through the evening, or how much more stiff the ligaments get because you haven't been mobile through the night. It's crazy what this pose feels like first thing in the morning. It's much easier to do as the day goes on. Just 3 more. But affirm in the process, I am safe, I'm sound, and good things come to me and bring me peace. Now, swoop the belly in, roll up one vertebra at a time, and notice how your hands just naturally slide back as you come up. So all this forward folding can be rough for the sinuses if you've got, an allergy or a cold. So what we're getting ready to do is actually pretty helpful in doing the reverse. So let's slide through on the mat so we can roll down to our back. We're going to take one of those blocks, and please remember the block can turn 3 different heights. You want to press the feet to tuck and lift the tailbone, and then you can figure out which block height you want to use. So even though I can go to the tallest block, I'm just turning it onto the medium size because we're eventually going to lift our feet. And I can still lift my feet on the tallest block, but just, monitor how much you want to give yourself today. Notice the length of the neck, the elevation of the hips, and the weight in the back of your head. There's something about this position and the next one we're going in that can just open up your breath again if you've been feeling congested. Inhale, float the feet up in the air. This is good for circulation, draining the lymph tissues in the lower body. And then let's separate the feet. Create the V shape with the legs. Draw the legs back together. And then exhale, land one foot and then the other. Being in supported bridge. From supported bridge, tuck and lift. Move the block away. Roll it down to the ground. Crossing your left ankle over the right knee, and this may be enough. If you want more, you're hugging the right thigh closer. And release. Lower the left foot, cross the right ankle over the left knee. Choosing to be here, or lifting the left foot and hooking your hands behind your left thigh. And release your hold. And then roll to one side of your body once you reset both feet to the floor. When you roll to one side, this is where we're going to use our blocks again. So the one on the middle height is going to be right in the middle of your mat. This is going to go under the spine. The tall block will be behind it, and it will be where the head's at rest. So notice there's a few inches in between. You'll come to the first block and set it between your shoulder blades. And then you can lower your arms and open your palms. You can always replace the blocks with the bolster if you want something softer and more pillowy. Because the blocks make it a little bit more dramatic and dynamic. So pick one. And then once you're settled, notice if you need to keep the legs straight or would it feel better for the knees to bend. Each person's a little different that way, so test it out. Create your comfort zone because you want the body to be comfortable and the mind to follow. At this point in the practice, we don't have to worry about breathing a certain way. So your breathing can be autonomous. It's your mind that you want to stay focused. Begin noticing whether or not you've relaxed your feet and all 10 toes. And then invite relaxation to enter and to flow up through each leg. Relax your hips, buttocks, and genitalia. Now that you've relaxed the areas of the first and second chakra, move up to the third. Relaxing the abdomen, your mid back. Feel the openness of the chest, the support, the upper back. Give it permission to relax. Let the relaxation trickle down through each arm to each finger. Then roll that relaxation into your neck, your throat, your face, all sensory organs. Firming bones, muscles, movement. I surrender now. Anxiety, elation, depression, turning thoughts, all these I give over into the hands of peace.
Let's turn the palms down. And slowly build up away from the blocks. And once you come up to the block, away from the block, soles of the feet together. And we're going to fold briefly over the feet, over the lap. Just as a counter. So I'll take a cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And rise back up. You're going to find one of the blocks. Now, I know we often sit on bolsters, but a lot of teachers in studios will sit on blocks. So we're going to try that. Instead of sitting on the bolster and shimming to the edge, we're actually going to be right on top of this block. And some people find this works just as well or better than a bolster. So I just wanted you to try it because we do this occasionally, just to experiment. And then sit up, close your eyes. And do some mindful breath work. Let's draw the hands together to prayer. Let's seal our practice here at the heart. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we all walk away from this practice being free and at peace by anything out of our control, anything imposed upon us by another, or any internal conflicts of our own. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste.